Welcome to the Melanin Wellness Podcast, your go-to destination for all things health, beauty, and empowerment for people of color. The Melanin Wellness Podcast is more than just a podcast. It's a celebration of diversity, resilience, and self-love. I believe that wellness should be accessible to everyone. And here, I aim to provide a platform where we can share knowledge, inspire positive change, and uplift our communities. I'm your host, Cori, and this is the podcast for seekers of knowledge on wellness, and I'm thrilled to embark on this journey with you. Now, let's transition into today's show. Hey, beautiful people, and welcome back to the Melanin Wellness Podcast. I'm your host, Corina, and today we are diving into a topic that I know so many of us can relate to, which is setting healthy boundaries. Now, boundaries are essential for protecting our peace and prioritizing our own well-beings. But let's be real, they can also be very, very difficult to establish and to maintain. So, if you've been struggling with boundaries, whether it's with friends, family, work, or even with yourself, this episode is for you. Today, we're going to break down why boundaries are crucial, how to set boundaries in a way that feels empowering, and most importantly, how to stick to the boundaries you set without feeling guilty. But before we dive in today, y'all know how we do over here. We always begin every episode with 30 seconds of gratitude. Today, I am grateful for waking up today because every day that you wake up is another opportunity to make things better than it was the day before. I am grateful for this mass amount of clothing. I'm very grateful for that because there are so many who do not have clothing, and there was a point in which I did not have all of these clothes, but it's getting chilly outside, and I'm grateful that I have these clothes to keep me warm. And my final gratitude for today is I'm grateful for my own boundaries. The ones I've set for others, the ones I've set for myself. Just boundaries, period. The ones that help me to simply be a better person. Now, I know that was probably more than 30 seconds, and that's all good because when you are living in a space of gratitude, it allows you clarity. It gives you the ability to see what often you may take for granted. Now, let's start by talking about why boundaries matter. I think a lot of people have this idea that boundaries are about pushing people away or about being quote unquote mean. But, honey, that's not at all what it is. Boundaries are about protecting your mental, emotional, and even sometimes physical space so that you can show up as your best, most authentic self. So think of boundaries as part of your self-care practice. It is the ultimate act of self-love. Just like you might meditate, journal, or work out to take care of your body and your mind, boundaries help you to take care of your energy. And when your energy is protected, you're able to pour into yourself and into others and any ventures you may have from a place of peace, clarity, and strength. Now let's get into how to set healthy boundaries. Now, I know this can feel a little awkward or even confrontational, especially if you are someone who is used to people pleasing. I'm raising my hand here because I am guilty as charged. But trust me, boundaries can be set with kindness and love. And they actually can strengthen your relationships rather than strain them. Because there is a mutual respect then that's there when you've created these boundaries. So the first step to setting healthy boundaries is to get clear on your needs. So ask yourself, what do I need more of? Or what do I need less of in my life right now? This might mean more alone time, Let's work on weekends, or maybe you just need more support from your partner or friends. Like your needs can vary because everyone is different and everyone has different situations. So determining what those needs are is the first step. So a great exercise here is to grab your journal and write down the areas of your life where you feel overwhelmed, anxious, drained, or maybe even resentful. These are usually the places where you know that you need to apply stronger boundaries. Once you know what's triggering those feelings, it becomes easier to know what kind of boundaries that you need to set. And so it's going to be difficult, but you have to be real with yourself when you're writing down these things. Because sometimes the people who break the boundaries the most are the people that are closest to you, the people you love the most. And setting boundaries for them can be tough. As everybody knows, I have a large family. I love my kids with everything in me. There is nothing I would not do for those children. However, I have definitely allowed them to break certain boundaries. I have not set certain boundaries because of my love for them. And they are now experiencing mom setting boundaries. And it is difficult for them to accept. It is very, very difficult for them to accept. But because I know that if I don't set those boundaries, I will become angry. I will become frustrated with them. And to be honest, me not showing them how to set healthy boundaries, it doesn't allow them to learn how to set healthy boundaries for themselves. Or they may not respect someone else's boundaries. And I definitely don't want that. Now, once you've identified your needs, the next step into setting healthy boundaries is to communicate those boundaries. Now, again, as I was just touched on, this is very tough, especially when you are worried about how others are going to react. But here's the thing, boundaries aren't about controlling other folks. They're about communicating your limits and needs in a clear and respectful way. So here's a simple script that you can use when you are trying to establish your boundaries, when you're beginning to set those boundaries. You can say, hey, whoever the person is, insert person's name, I really value our relationship. And I want to make sure that we continue to have a positive dynamic. But lately, I've been feeling whatever emotion it is that you feel when the situation occurs, whatever it is. And I've realized that I need to set a boundary around this specific need. I hope you can understand and respect that. This approach is assertive but not aggressive. And you're sharing how you feel and what you need. And you're inviting the other person to respect that boundary. Like, so for example, I will talk about my kids. My kids are constantly forgetting things. And they want me to bring things to the school for them during the day because I have a little more flexibility in my schedule. And I don't always want to do it. I'm frustrated about it a lot of times. And instead of me saying to them, I'm not going to keep doing this, I'm sick of doing this, you're getting on my nerves. Instead, I say, hey, son, daughter, I love you more than you'll ever know. But I feel taken advantage of, and it makes me feel angry when you repeatedly forget your things at home and then expect me to bring it to you. So, unfortunately, if you don't get your things and have your things, I'm not going to be able to help you. I'm not going to be able to bring it to you because I need you to respect my time and respect my energy. And again, like that was hard. That was a hard conversation to have because those are my babies. But it was necessary. And I tell you what, they remember their stuff. Now, let's talk about those you are going to get some pushback from. Because it's going to happen, y'all. I'm telling you, it's going to happen at some point. And some people might not like your new boundaries, especially if they have been used to you always saying yes or always overextending yourself. People who benefit from your brokenness will not like it when you set those boundaries. They won't like it when you begin to heal. And that's okay. That's their journey. But what's important is that you stay firm and you don't feel guilty for putting yourself and your well-being, your mental health first. So let me drop a little truth on you here. You're not responsible for how other people react to your boundaries. Period. You're responsible for protecting your energy, your peace, and your well-being. That's what you're responsible for. And sometimes that means that others will have to adjust. And if they can't respect your boundaries, then it's probably time to reevaluate those relationships. It might be tough. It might sound cold. It might sound whatever, but it's necessary. And if they decide that they truly don't want to respect and they keep trying to violate that line, thinking eventually you'll give in, then I guess it's time to walk away. And just put that on that. Another thing to keep in mind when setting boundaries is that it doesn't mean you're selfish. It's actually a part of living what is called your self-centered life. And that is actually healthy for you and those around you. Like, I'm going to explore that topic in the future because people take the word selfish and self-centered and they bend it to their own narrative. And it actually doesn't mean what you think it means. But anyway, we're going to get into that in another episode. That's not what this is about. Now, I know that guilt is going to creep in because it has for me. Especially if you've always been that go-to person for everybody else's needs. If you are the person that everybody calls when stuff goes wrong or when this happens, when that happens, they know that you are the reliable one. You are the one they can count on. But listen, I'm promising you, if you don't start setting those boundaries, burnout is inevitable. I have suffered from burnout more times than I can count, more times than I have been alive in years on this earth. And I tell you, the way that burnout manifests itself in my life, it takes me out of commission. And ain't nobody trying to do that no more. Ain't nobody trying to do that no more. And I've had to learn that you cannot pour from an empty cup. But we try it all the time. Think about how, like when our cell phones die, the first thing we are doing is we're running somewhere saying, I need a charger, I need to charge, I need to charge. You need to plug your phone in, but you don't do that for you. I'm just saying, y'all. You deserve the same love and care that you give to everybody else. So give yourself permission to say no when you need to, when it is simply just too much. I am telling y'all, I have had to learn to become the queen of no, and it actually feels good. Because when I know that I'm overextending, you have to learn to recognize the signs. And I do. There was a point earlier in this year when I tell you I was writing a book, I was doing all these shows, I was doing so much traveling that it was just too much. I had to say no to some things. I had to pass on some things and put my health first, my mental health, my physical health, my emotional health first, and take the necessary rest and respite that I needed. Don't ever feel guilty for that. All right, now we've done all this. We've set the boundaries. We've communicated the boundaries. We've handled the pushback. All of that. Now let's get to what's often the hardest part is sticking to them. How do you stick to those boundaries? Well, this is where consistency comes into play. Boundaries are only effective if you enforce them regularly. And that means saying no when something crosses your limit, even when it feels uncomfortable at first. And it is going to feel uncomfortable, especially, like I stated before, if you are a former people pleaser, it's going to feel very uncomfortable to say no. But a good tip is to start with something small. So set a boundary in an area that feels manageable and build from there. So as you practice setting and enforcing boundaries, it'll get easier and you'll feel more confident and more comfortable when it comes to protecting your peace. And you won't think of it as, oh, I'm being selfish, I'm being mean, or what are they going to do without me? Like there was a point in my life where I felt like that. My family's world would crumble without me taking care of every little detail. Y'all, I promise you, I ain't that important. Don't get me wrong. I know my family loves me. I know my family needs me. But they are more than capable, if I do not feel up to cooking that night, to figuring it out. There's always food. I'm just saying. That's something small. That's something very, very small. So let's sum it all up here. Boundaries are a form of self-care, and they are absolutely essential for protecting your peace and prioritizing your well-being. So whether it's work, family, friends, even social media. And yeah, those digital boundaries are just as important. Start by identifying your needs, communicating them clearly, and sticking to them without any guilt. Don't feel guilty. Remember, you are worthy of setting boundaries, and that allows you to show up as your best self. When you protect your energy, you're not only benefiting yourself, but also those around you. A healthier you means healthier relationships. Thank you so much for tuning in today. If this episode resonated with you, I'd love for you to share it with someone who might need a little boundary setting inspiration. And don't forget to leave a review for the podcast on your favorite podcast platform, no matter where you listen to it. It definitely helps more people to find the show. Until next time, people, stay grounded, stay empowered, and protect your peace at all costs. Take care, family. You got this.